Ooh, I like that lighting. I will raise this up though, a little bit. That'll have to do for now. Oh, is it Riadin? How do I pronounce your name? Welcome to the stream, by the way. You're early. I like it when people are early. Hold on 1 second. I am going to move. Hey, they're planting a new tree outside. I'm getting a new tree. Isn't that exciting? There used to be a tree there, and they got rid of it, which is kind of sad for me. So I haven't had a tree for a little while, but I'm getting it back. appreciate that. Hey, Cyber, the tree delivery men came. They brought me a new tree. I don't remember if you were in the stream, Cyber, where I was really sad because they took away my tree. But, it's okay now because I have a new one. There we go. When the shorts match the pillow. Oh, I was moving the blinds to cover up the sunspot. There we go. Free tree, baby. I've got to admit, the new one looks pretty pathetic. Maybe it's because it's a baby. And it hasn't had time to grow yet. I hope it'll grow to be something cool. This song is called Reflection Pool. I think Kit's still in here. Thank you, Kit, for that one. Also, Leanna's in the stream today. Leanna named the song Double Lutz. Is Lutz a German word? don't know what that last bit was. That was just me messing around putting random notes and chords. Probably won't remember that, so don't expect that to ever happen again at the end of Double Lights. But thank you again, Leanna, for naming that. Somebody asked something. I wasn't paying attention to the chat so much. I apologize for that. I'm back. I'm attentive. John Everman says, "Man, it was good spending Christmas with my girlfriend and my family. It was super cute. New Year's we watched fireworks from the apartment. It was on top of Pikes Peak. Just beautiful. And you, man, you're almost done with these streams. Ha ha ha. I mean, I'm almost hit 100, so I've been good. Work, 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 eat, eat, cook, work, work, sleep." Cyber says, "You've been super flowing with the music these last couple of days." Yeah, Cyber. Yeah, I don't know what's been going on with me. It's weird, right? It's like I didn't write, it's like I didn't write anything for a really long time. I didn't write anything for a long time for me, which is like a month or 2 months. And yeah, I've pretty much written a song every night for the past week. Like a lot of like housey, disco. Like I've been like creating a lot of my own samples. We can get into it actually a little bit later in the stream. I can like dig into the thing that I made last night, and maybe what I'm trying to do with that, if I can remember. If I forget, my apologies. It's on my Instagram. You can go check it on my Instagram stories or in the stream that I actually did last night on Instagram, which I won't get into either. This past weekend must have been very refreshing for you, says Cyber. This past weekend, was it refreshing? What did I do? I ate a lot. I ate a lot of food and I didn't work out once, which, probably isn't good. I worked out double today to make up the difference. But was it refreshing this past weekend? Was it refreshing? The weather's been really nice in LA, so I've been able to can I really say that? It's Los Angeles. The weather's always nice, but I would say it's been particularly nice the past few days. That kind of nice where you open your windows and your doors, and the temperature from inside to outside is no different. It's just fresher outside. It's like this great, like, high 60s, like 69 to 72, and it's breezy. The sky's beautiful. Not a cloud. Been doing a lot of walking. I went to Downey, which is an area in the southeast part of Los Angeles, to get Porto's, which is like a Cuban bakery. Has very good food. I went there over the weekend, so that was cool. That's what I did on Friday. And then on Saturday, I spent a little bit of time in downtown. They just opened up a new van store in downtown, and the second floor of the van store is kind of like a creative studio space. So I'm planning on going back there and working on music, which is actually kind of nice. It's like a community studio. So I discovered that. Also, I've been doing a lot of music writing. Like some music writing for other people, obviously, because of work, but also a lot of music writing for myself, which is kind of cool. I've been working on a lot of descending progressions. Like, here's the thing. Oh, let's get into that now. Okay, so chord progressions. A lot of times in the stream, I'll talk about chord progressions, the way I build them, which is, hold on, I want to push this a little bit further back. I'm sorry, guys. It's going to bother me if I don't do it. There we go. Okay, so chord progressions. For those of you that know me, you know I love chords. It's very hard for me to write atonal music because chords are so important to me. Maybe this is a crutch, or maybe this is just a personal interest. I haven't really thought too much about it, but I do like chords. So when I'm building a song, usually the first thing I start with, even if I start with a melody in my head, I will start with arranging the chord progression beneath it very, very quickly after. The melody that I was coming up with last night, which again, it lives on my Instagram, you can see it on my story still for the next, 15 hours. I had this melody in my head. Wait. I had that stuck in my head while I was walking home last night. I went to a cafe to get some work done. While I was walking home, I couldn't get that out of my head. So I hummed it into the voice recorder on my phone just so I wouldn't forget it. When I got home, I started working on chords for it first before I even recorded into my DAW or into my recording software. I won't be working on chords that were going to go underneath it. And of course, there's a lot of chords that could go underneath it, right? Depending on like what key you're in. But there was a specific groove that I was hearing, which ended up being this chord. And so I took those chords, and instead of just playing them straight like this, I wanted to write a bass line. So if you remember from, I think I did this yesterday's stream or maybe 2 streams ago, I talked about how um, there are the three main parts of a song for me, melodically and harmonically, which is a bass line, chords, and a lead, or bass line, chords, melody. And since I had my melody and I had my chords, I wanted to be able to write a bass line. But since playing these chords took up two of my hands, I decided to move one of the notes from the chord into the bass. So I'm playing this in the bass, and instead of playing this up here, I'm playing this up here. It sounds off. It sounds like it's like out of key or that it won't work, but it does with the bass down here. And so I recorded that last night. So I'm a chord person. That's was basically a long way of telling everybody in the stream that chords are kind of the thing that take priority in my arrangements. And since chords are something that I have priority with, that I put priority on chords, I try to find new ones, right? Like, because it wouldn't be fun for me if I played the same chords in the same way. If I was just moving my hands up the keyboard, if I just played that, could be boring for me as somebody that plays piano a lot. So what I've done is you took a song in a minor key and somehow made it happy, says Cyber. Did I? Was it the beat? Was it the beat? I'm getting sidetracked. So I'll mess around with chords. Obviously, I'm not playing them all like just straight. Sometimes I'm crunching them up a little bit more. Or there's like inversions, I guess, of chords. I don't know. Point is, I try to move my chord hand as little as possible. If I'm playing this chord, I don't necessarily want to go up and play this chord. There's a few times where I do that anyway because I think that it's in service to the song. If you think about, what's the name of that song? Beneath the City? I go from this chord to this chord, which if you're looking at my hand doesn't seem like a big move, but for me, this is a massive jump. Hold on, pause on that. This says, has something ever happened where you've been working on something, but your computer crashed and you lost your progress? Yeah, Diz, I've lost entire EPs this way. Not necessarily because a computer crashed, but because a file got corrupted, or because something got stolen, or because my backups got corrupted or somehow deleted mysteriously. I've lost 2 EPs and tons of works that were in progress. I think this just happens. The longer you work on music, the more you're going to lose music, right? The longer you eat food, the more food's going to wind up on your clothes. Yes, an entire EP, Cyber. But if you look at my hand, it's not moving very much on the keyboard. But these are big jumps for me. Hold on, pause, because there's a second part to this question. This says, but it turns out to be a good thing, because when you start it back, it turns out better than it was before. I think this is true for everybody, Diz. I think there's a lot of factors that go into that thought process, though. Instead of kind of it being a black and white, like better or worse. For example, when I was in the middle of making Speed Dream, I was working on another version of Speed Dream. I was working on another version of Speed Dream that was different. I won't get into how, but it was quite a bit different. And when I lost it and I had to start over, I had knowledge of what I had done before and seen it to its, its limits. And now with that knowledge, I could bring that into something else. When you think about the way projects work, Diz, in any type of artistic project, even if it's like architecture or something, as you are working on things, you're always growing. Even if it seems very incremental or small, you're always going to be growing something. Every day when I wake up and I do this stream, even though I'm playing the same songs over and over, the same chords maybe, I'm improvising the same way, I'm sitting in the same chair, I'm talking to the same people, I'm going to grow. I'm going to accidentally hit something, or I'm going to mess around with the tempo of a track and discover something new. I'm going to find a new chord. You're always growing. And because of that, your work will progress with you, right? Your old songs won't be as advanced as your new songs. And when I use the term advanced, it's more of a vague term. It doesn't necessarily mean more complicated or smarter, but it means just more info. You have more information when you're going into it. A more mature you is making that art. So, and that way, Love Dream, I'm talking about my own projects now. Love Dream is more mature and informed than Nice Dream. And Speed Dream is a little bit more mature and informed than Love Dream is. Daydream is a little bit more, it goes on like that. Every project that I make has a little bit more information because the person making it is more informed and smarter and better, maybe more skilled, more experienced. You're always going to be putting more experience in things and kind of like a linear progressive line. So if you work on something and you lose that thing and then you start a new project, that project is going to be made by somebody that is far more advanced than made the old project, the one you lost. So even if Nice Dream got lost, Love Dream got lost, Speed Dream got lost, Daydream got lost, Lush Dream got lost, Tall Tales got lost, Signals got lost, Lost Polaroids got. I have a lot of releases. Even if all these things got lost, and the first thing I ever put out was the next piece of work that I'm doing right now, I will be able to look at it favorably because I'll go, this is better than those things were going to have turned out. Is this something that we tell ourselves just to feel better about losing work? Or is there validity to it because we're always growing? I don't know. I think both can be true, but I am really glad that that has happened to you. It's like a growing pain, possibly. Diz goes on to say, hold on, let me not skip Cyber things. Cyber says, who would steal files from Omni? Lots of people. That suspect don't appreciate that. Reminds me of the time that Sean Wasabi had his Mini Fighter laptop stolen a few years ago from his car. Yeah, he got that stolen in San Francisco. San Francisco's pretty famous for car break-ins. I've also had my car broken into while I was in San Francisco and things stolen out of my car. Diz says, do you ever go back to your early work and rework them to reflect your progress you've made now? Or do you like to keep it as they are in time capsules to show growth? Hello, Sam Tibbetts. It has been a while. I hope you have been well. To answer your question is, it's a little bit of a yes and no, right? Do I go back to Bon Bon? Do I go back to this song and reproduce it or remake it or reimagine it to show people what it would be like now, even if that person is just myself? No, not necessarily. However, I think that if you are a performer, I don't know exactly where you are in your artist journey. I don't know if you're somebody that performs live a lot. I don't know if you're somebody that never performs live. I don't know if you're somebody that releases music a lot, etc., etc., etc. But that's very smart, Liana, by the way. But what I'm saying is, as a performer, I perform music a lot, right? Whether it's on tour, whether it's on this stream, I am one part composer, arranger, producer, and another part performer. Because I don't just write my music, I also have to play my music. And I don't just play my music, I also have to create my music. And since I have to play my music, it means that me, a person who is constantly changing and growing, is going to have to play the same songs over and over. Now, Diz, you've been in the stream before. This is not your first stream. So you know that there are songs like Spring Street and Flight Plan and even Signals or Love Letters. There are a lot of songs that I play in the stream regularly. And if you go back and you listen to the recorded and released version, it is going to differ slightly or drastically from what you hear me play in the streams. And that is because the song, as I'm playing it, is growing with me. Now, am I going to re-release the song in a different version, like re-release this version I play in the stream? Maybe not. Probably not. Not necessarily. But that is why the answer to your question is kind of a yes and no. I'm not going back and re-releasing Love Dream. I'm not going to remake Bon Bon. I'm not going to remake even Six Cell for that matter. But the songs that I'm performing, they are going to change as my skill set grows. When I first made the song Spring Street, I didn't have the capability to play the new bridge for it. That part? If I tried to play this part, hello Mary and good morning. Thank you for making it though. If I tried to play that part, back when I first made Spring Street, it would have been too difficult for me. But as I have grown as a musician, Signals, all the songs from Signals, including Spring Street, has grown with me. However, am I going to re-release this version of it? I don't know. I don't know if that's a good use of my time and efforts. I hope that answers your question, Diz, which was actually a very good question, by the way. Now, back to the point that I was making. This is a big jump chords-wise. I know it doesn't look like it because my hand is barely moving, but if you think about most of my songs, they're very slight chord shifts. Here's another one that's kind of big. Over and Under. That's a big jump. All the way down there. Now, I'll play you songs that have more realistic Omni Boy chord progressions. Now, if you look at Winter Heart. See how my hand's barely moving? A lot of my fingers are actually hitting the same notes twice. Versus... I'm just going... Very, very small movements. I do very small movements in the chords, and in order to make those chords sound drastically different and not like they're just very small movements, I will move the bass a lot to create new chords. For example, sometimes the chord will stay exactly the same. If you think about the 4 chords in my song with Mars Cassé, Whisper, the chord progression of that song is... Sounds just like 2 chords, but when I play it with the bass line, it's... Those aren't the chords of that song. Oh, I found it. So the chords for that is... It still sounds like 2 chords, but the bass line is... So it sounds like 4 chords. And I can even mess with the arrangement of those notes, so I'm still hitting that chord, but it even follows the bass line more. There you go. So, lately I've been messing around with those chord progressions, like these really, really crunchy chord progressions where I'm keeping my hands very close to its original position and not moving too much. But I've been moving the bass line even more, and I've been exercising with descending bass lines and ascending bass lines. One of the descending ones is actually used in a song of mine that I'm currently writing, that I showed in a previous stream. And it goes, I'm sorry, I'm going to mess with the camera. It's bothering me that it's like... It's always going to be slanted, but I'm doing the best I can. Okay. So it would start with this chord. So I'm gonna play the bass line by itself first. So the bass line goes... So it's just following. And then the chords I play on top of it are... So let me do that with the 2 parts put together. So much. So let me show you what I'm doing. So the bass line does still stay the same. But wistful would be a way to describe it. Thank you, Cyber. Wistful. These are wistful chords. But what I do the second time It's crazy how to build these chords without knowing the theory behind them. Ah, theory schmeary, Sam. Just hit notes. Just hit notes. Now, let me explain how I got the second progression. Because the first progression goes, and then the second one goes. Now, how I got that second one was by playing the same chords. Again, if you think about my that whisper song, I have knowledge that if I play the same chord twice, but I play two different bass notes, it can change the color or the sound or the feel of that chord. Think about the Bad and Bougie remix. The first two chords are the same chord. It's here and then here. My right hand doesn't move, but my left hand going from here gives it a different sound entirely. So, with that knowledge, with me knowing that knowledge, sometimes when a chord progression has gone stale, and by the way, I learned this from Fruity Loops, because in Fruity Loops, when I'm clicking and arranging notes, sometimes I'll just take the bass line and I'll like move it up and down the piano roll, and then keep hitting the space bar to see like, oh, does this note work with this chord? No. Does this bass line work with this chord? No. Does this bass note work with this chord? No. Does this one? No, no, no. And it's really easy to kind of get a feedback loop of like, good, 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 good. Okay, this one works. And so when I was messing around with this chord progression, I was like, what other bass line can I put? What other bass notes could I put to make these chords work? And so I arrived on this chord. That chord. Very, very nice, pretty, jazzy, dissonant chord. And the bass line or the bass note that I'm hitting for this chord is here. Because going from here makes sense to me. It makes sense to me because it's falling. Then it can keep falling. But that bass, that chord, I was like, what other bass note can I play for that chord? Because I'm already playing this one. Could I play this one? No, I don't like the way that sounds. Could I play this one? Yes, I could. That's also very pretty. What else could I play? Can I play this note? No, I don't like the way that sounds. This one? Yes, that also works. But that's also the note that I end on, remember? So I'm like, I don't want to play the same chord twice in this chord progression. So what about this note? Does this note work? Kind of. So I'll save that in my bank. I could play this one, and I could also play this one. What about that note? No. What about that note? And I'm like, oh, that actually works a lot. So now instead of going from here to here, I go from here to here, which has like such a richer like because it's a big jump. So that's how I got the second progression. First one again is, and the second one is very subtle difference, but it can change the entire progression because now that I've jumped all the way down there, instead of continuing to go down, I want to go up. So the first one goes all the way down. The second one goes and then jumps all the way down and then starts climbing up. Again, the bass lines are 1, 2. Yeah, when I play it like that, it sounds like a funky like church bass line. And then I just put the chords over it that match that bass line. And so I've been messing around with chord progressions, putting more complex chord progressions on top of not complex drum patterns. Because if you listen to a lot of my older music, I would argue that at first I was putting simple chords and simple rhythms, and then putting simple chords on complex rhythms that were undanceable, but interesting. And then I started putting complex chords on complex rhythms when I was making stuff like love letters. Like I was making stuff that was just supposed to be fun and rhythmically interesting, but not necessarily danceable or relatable. And now I'm like, if I put a 4 on the 4 kick, if I put house drums on anything, you can kind of make it danceable. This could be taken from the example of my remix to Bad and Bougie or my remix to Gucci Gang. These are hip hop halftime songs. And I made them dancey simply. Hold on. And I made them dancey simply by, yes, my window got fixed this, and I made them danceable simply by putting house drums on them. Somebody says, oh, it's Neobo says, I love complex rhythms. So do I, obviously, or else I wouldn't have put them in songs. I like complex rhythms. I like simple rhythms. Sometimes I like songs that don't really have a rhythm. There are a lot of ambient songs that I like that don't really have much of a rhythm. Rhythm is important. I like playing with it. I think that something that's very, very important to me as a musician, Neobo, and I want to make this point very, very clear, is that I don't want to get lost in complexity, right? I can write songs like Chaser. I can write songs like that and it's fun and it's jazzy and it has movement and it has like a funk to it. But I don't want to get lost going down that hole of making stuff that's more complicated, more alienating, less relatable to people. I want to flex that muscle. I want to constantly get better at being able to make complex chord progressions. And I want to get constantly better at being able to make complex rhythms, drum wise. Stuff that isn't necessarily 4 on the 4. Stuff that isn't necessarily something you can dance to, something you have to listen to intently. I want to get better at that. But I don't want to lose sight of being able to write a simple song. There is a school of thought, right, that making a pop song, like a Katy Perry song or a Justin Bieber song or a now Doja Cat song, there is a theory that making pop music is easy and making complex, alienating music is more difficult and therefore requires more skill. Running a bunch of like really fancy scales or doing solos on guitar or being in a progressive rock band or a metal band does take skill, absolutely. But I think that there is also skill and intention and restraint. That is a skill that I have had to learn firsthand. I've had to learn firsthand that if you are making something, you have to love it. Of course, the first things first, you have to love your own music. But what I want to do is I want to get better. I want to get better at the things that are important to me. And I realized recently that restraint is important to me. Restraint being that I could write a 8-minute long song. And it could have so many phases. It can go everywhere. It could be cool. It could have all these vocals on it. It could have a rap verse. Then it can go into trap. But there is a skill in restraint. The people that are making songs for Katy Perry or whoever, and they're making a song that's 2 minutes and 40 seconds, or they're making a song that's 3 minutes and 20 seconds, that's hard to do for a lot of people. It's very, very. Oh, is Kit leaving? Oh, goodbye, Kit. Thank you for being in the stream. I'm glad that I was able to play a reflection poll while you were still here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Mm. Oh, and Sam is also leaving. Bye, Sam. Thank you for making it. I haven't seen you in a while, so it was actually a really nice surprise to see you come to the stream. Really quick pause on what I was talking about, because this says, do you ever leave elements in your music that you perceive to be mistakes in order to express a type of emotion that you wouldn't be able to convey normally? That's a very good question. It's a very good question, simply and possibly only because you use the word mistake. Mistake implies that you intended to do something and you didn't do it. Not because you couldn't, but because you didn't, right? A mistake. Mistake, calling your friend by the wrong name. You know what their name is. You know what you did wrong. You just made a mistake. Now, in music, I can make a mistake when I'm playing, right? I can make a mistake. What's a song I mess up on a lot? Oh, I mess up on Vanilla all the time. I'm just gonna play it through because I'm sure I'm gonna mess up. Okay, so I already messed up. So this is the wrong chord, obviously. I can't even remember what chord's supposed to go there actually. So I can't play the right chord, but I went there, which is the wrong chord. A mistake. When I am going to release that song, I would not release it with that chord because I know how the song is supposed to sound and I know what idea I'm trying to convey to people. When I'm playing live, mistakes are going to happen all the time. When it comes to releasing music, I think the commitment to something kind of overrides or vetoes the word mistake. If I do something in a song and I go, I'm going to leave that in, I'm going to leave that mistake in, the intent to leave something in and then share it with everybody, goodbye, Sam, thank you again. The intent to leave something in and then share it with everybody almost makes it not a mistake anymore in my eyes. I don't know about yours or anybody else's, but in my eyes, now that becomes intention, that becomes motive, and that becomes something that you're doing on purpose now for everybody else. Because my music can't get released without my consent. I mean, at least not in my. I'm not with a label or anything, so I have to sign off on everything. Like you intended to create one sound, but you can't. But what came out added to it in a way that you didn't intend, but it benefits the finished product more than if it wasn't there. Um, yeah, sure. That's happened, is, but then I wouldn't call it a mistake anymore. One could say even that a lot of my chord progressions are born out of mistakes. A lot of times, I don't know, you're not in the streams very often, Diz, anymore, but maybe somebody like Cyber knows, especially in the YouTube streams, there's a lot of times where I'll be playing something and I'll have a finger slip and I'll hit a weird note and I'm like, ooh, that's good. Maybe I can work that into the song somehow. And I'll spend the next 5, 10, 15 minutes trying to figure out how to work that into the chord progression. And now the song has evolved. This is where the bridge from Spring Street came from. The new bridge for Spring Street, I mean. This is where the chord progression and over and under came from. This is where the key change and double lets came from. A lot of these things have come from, they were born from mistakes, but I would no longer refer to them as a mistake after the fact. I would refer to them as just an alteration in production or arrangement. A finger slip. Maybe a song is really hard, so I can't play it as fast as I want to, and it turns out I actually kind of like that I'm playing it slow. It sounds cooler when there's a speed shift at this point in the song. Yeah. So yeah, I think a lot of art is born out of mistakes. But yeah, if it's in service of the song and it makes it sound better to you or your desired audience, then I think that it is no longer a mistake and now is just an arrangement. An arrangement. But what I was talking about as far as like restraint, I think restraint is a very, very important skill to learn. If you've heard my Lush Dream EP, Lush Dream was the biggest exercise in restraint from me because I love chords, I love complexity, I like songs that go places, and a lot of the Lush Dream songs don't go places. I had this kind of like, I had this, I don't know, like a complex where I felt like everything had to go somewhere in order to be interesting. And the same way that it's like people feel like they need more clothes in order to look good. They'll go buy new clothes because they don't want to have people see them wear the same shirt over and over. I used to have a lot of anxiety when I was going on like a date or something where I was like, wait, did I wear this shirt on the last date? I don't want this person to think I only have one shirt. I don't want them to think I wear the same shirt every day. And so I would rack my brain trying to remember exactly what it was I wore so I can rearrange my wardrobe in a way that they don't really see repeat articles of clothing, which in its infancy is like a really, I guess, a sweet thing, but in a bigger picture way, it's kind of ridiculous because things don't necessarily always have to be new to be interesting. And I took that same mentality and I started looking at music because there's a lot of music I like that doesn't change, right? It doesn't really go anywhere. There's a lot of songs by Coldplay or whatever that don't grow, they don't really have a whole narrative arc. It just is. It just exists. And there's a lot of people that listen to lo-fi hip-hop, which honestly, and this is not an insult, a lot of lo-fi hip-hop doesn't really go anywhere. They introduce the sample and the beat And it just does that for like 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. I don't know. It just does that. It doesn't have a narrative arc. It doesn't go anywhere. And I thought about, a wardrobe, or I thought about a home. You don't always need to go to a new destination in order to be interested by things. You don't always need to be dating somebody new in order to find the person you're dating to be interesting. Sometimes familiarity can also be just as engaging as variety. And so I'm trying to exercise both of those, right? Understanding the importance of variety, understanding the importance of complexity, of weird rhythms, of weird chords, but also trying to understand the importance and value in the opposite. Because when I'm making a song, I do try to load it up with chords and like complex things. Sometimes I'll play a chord progression. Like if I'm just playing, I'll play just four chords really quick. If I'm playing, so I'm playing, I'll keep it super simple. And that's my chord progression. My mind, hearing and playing this, is bored. So I'm like, okay, I can't just do that. What if I add a fourth note to each chord, so it's da, 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 and then maybe I crunch it up, so instead of playing this, I play this. So now they're crunched up together more. And then instead of playing just those chords, I add a bass line. And then, oh, yeah, actually. And then I make the bass line funkier. So all of this is from this chord progression. So it's been changed so much now at this point. And then I add like a transition chord to get back into the first chord. So I could do that. But sometimes if I'm going out, maybe I'm in Urban Outfitters, maybe I'm in American Apparel, maybe I'm at a show, maybe I'm at a festival, I can hear a song that just goes like this. And I can hear somebody singing over it. I can hear somebody playing drums over it, adding some rhythm in another way. But I will like the song. And I'll think to myself, how come I like this song, but I can't make this song and think it sounds good? And I think that I can't make it and think it sounds good because I, when I'm creating, love complexity. And I love for things to be more interesting. I don't like for things to just be on the face value. I love for them to go somewhere. Even if I was playing that song that I just played. Even if I did that, after I did it like 2 times, I was like, okay, I've done it 2 times already. I need to do something different. So instead of playing this chord now, what if I played this chord now? So it gets brighter, right? So it goes. And then it gets brighter. Then instead of hitting that, oh, that is, yeah, that is great. Then I can go down. Like I can go a lot of places with it just to keep it interesting to me because I will get bored making it. Now, I will get bored making it again because I like complexity and all the things that I make. But when I go listen to music, I don't have that same standard to the music I listen to. I can listen to like a John Mayer song where he's just playing 2 chords on a guitar and singing in some dry, raspy, whatever crony voice, and I'll go, "This is a good song. This guy's really good at guitar. I love this song. This makes me feel things." And I think that I am trying to slowly give my music and my creative process that same amount of trust and leeway. Going, I can make something and know that it'll be important to people, right? I can make something and it'll have emotional integrity. Not because the chords are really crunchy, not because the drum pattern is so hard to follow and really math rocky, but because it is music and people are going to connect with it no matter how many notes there are or how fast or difficult to perform it is. So, said all that to say, that there are a lot of different skills sets and muscles kind of that you can flex and work out in music creating. And my mind that I have been trying to flex so hard is complexity and uniqueness, unusual characters or qualities or timbres in music. That's a muscle that I've been flexing. And I think that in all that time I neglected the muscle of knowing how to make a simple song. Knowing how to make a simple song and see the value in it. And so when I made Lustream, I was like, let's just make simple songs, no complex songs, only simple stuff here. And so I made a very simple body of work for Lustream. Of course, if you listen to Ego Death and Quick Breath, it was kind of like a middle point now where I was like, okay, I can make simple patterns, I can make simple drums so that people can kind of get the groove of the song, but I can mess around a little bit and flex a little bit as far as complexity is concerned. And then even if you think about the stuff that I've been making now, Cyber I now knows because it's been on my Instagram, the stuff that is kind of more disco housey. Something that's really interesting about disco house is a lot of people, even in the 70s, I wasn't around for this, but I read. So a lot of people in the 70s did not like disco. We as non-70s people think everybody loved disco in the 70s. Now a lot of people did, but a pretty huge not much talked about group of people hated disco in the same way that a lot of people now hate EDM. They saw it as kind of mindless music that didn't have a lot of integrity. It was very simple and it was easy to make, and it was just something that was played in clubs so everybody in LA can do their coke and dance around aimlessly. Now, that being said, is disco very simple musically? Absolutely, absolutely. It's a, you know, there's the disco beat. There's the like, what is it, the kick, hi hat, the snare, hi hat, kick, hi hat, snare, boots, boots, and then there's like bass lines like, and then it's very very simple. But when I listen to disco, when I really actually listen to the disco music, I'm like, sure, is the bass line simple? Yes. Is the drum simple? Yes. But then I'm listening to those string arrangements, and I'm listening to those brass ensembles, and I'm like, you know, it's not as simple as it's letting on. A lot of the people that are making disco music, they are good musicians. They're very, very good and complicated musicians, and disco is, in my eyes, just a very, very successful exercise in restraint. It was a lot of people that had a string quartet and freaking 5 people on trumpets, and they had a bass player and a guitar player and a drummer and a singer, and they were like, I can make a big band jazz song, or I can make something that's going to be danceable and simple. I could exercise restraint. And so, now that I'm making this disco house stuff, are the drums basic and very, very simple and repetitive? Yes, yes, absolutely. Is the BPM very, very predictable and in a certain range that everybody's going to be able to dance to? Yes, absolutely. Goodbye, Neobo. Thank you for being in the stream. Appreciate you, by the way. Am I making very, very simple, easy to recognize bass lines? Yes. Is the music predictable and understandable? Yes. But I will do things that aren't necessarily that, like what I was talking about earlier, the chord progressions that I'm using, like that falling one, the I wouldn't say that these chords are necessarily very, very simple and easy and predictable. However, when delivered on the platter of very, very simple drums and a simple bass line, it can have that funky disco dancey vibe. So people can dance, but I can still deliver what is essentially a complex omni style chord progression. So I think that I can exercise one muscle a lot by making a completely alienating jazz groove, kind of like how Chaser is. Or I could go all the way simple and make something like how the all the songs on Lustream were, where it's just very, very simple chord progressions. This song's called Curtain Cake, by the way. So I can go in the two different directions. But what I've noticed is that when I'm doing the super super simple stuff, I don't feel like I am performing to my limits. But the people that are listening to it do like it. Lush Dream is by far my most successful release. And when I am performing something like Chaser, I feel like I'm really pushing myself, but people aren't enjoying it as much. And so I'm like, how can I, for this next release, try to straddle that fence? I'm not saying that I'm always going to be on that fence. It's very, very important to me to experience both sides or both extremes of that spectrum. But I'm saying for this one, I can give people something that I think that they will be able to enjoy and dance to and relate to. But I will also be able to play something that I feel is at the limit or close there too of my capabilities and my writing abilities and my performing abilities. Because even a lot of these chords aren't necessarily natural for me to perform. They're a little harder for me. What a long lecture. It was like a TED Talk. Jesus, I didn't even play that much music. I apologize, guys. Making sure I didn't miss anything. Mildly Funny, Maddie. Oh, welcome back, Mildly Funny. Wow, I remember you. I've dealt with that. Same issue of complexity in visual arts, too, like the perceived value of fine art. Oh my god. I wish I had seen this comment sooner. Because I probably would have made the entire stream just a conversation with you. It's such a good conversation to have. In fact, if you come into a future stream, Maddie, please remind me of that point because I would love to go down that rabbit hole at least a little bit with you. Because I have a lot of visual artist friends, obviously, because all of my like album art and stuff like that is made by friends of mine. But it's a very, very important conversation to have. I think that there are a lot of things about music that isn't necessarily relatable or transferable to visual art. And there are a lot of things about photography that isn't relatable to musicians. And, you know, there's a lot of things that are very unique to each individual art form, but there is a lot more, in my opinion, that is relatable, that crosses over. And I think specifically the art of restraint and the success of simplicity versus complexity with a mass audience is something that I love talking about because I think that I'm finally in a place, being in the past 5 to 3 years, where I'm mature enough to have that conversation without it coming from like a place of weird bitterness. I used to be, as most artists, just bitter about everything. What am I doing? What am I doing? We're 7 minutes over now. Let me go over some news. I do have two. Why did I do that? I have two new albums out. One is called Quick Breath. The other one is called Ego Death. Quick Breath is pretty downsy. Sorry, I tried to say dancey and housey at the same time. Quick Breath is pretty dancey and housey. Hovers around 125 BPM for the most part. More neo soul and R&B house than disco house, like what I'm making now. Features some very fine artists: Mia Gladstone, Only Tom, Abby Press. They're all featured on there, and there's even some vocals by me. So check that out if you ever get a chance. There was also a companion EP that came out called Ego Death, which was ambient, so not dancey at all, nor is it housey, but it's very emotional and fun. The songs are sad, but it can be fun depending on what mood you're in. I wouldn't recommend listening to this if you're trying to dance. But both of those albums or EPs, collections of work, mixtapes, whatever you want to call them, Ego Death and Quick Breath can be found on Bandcamp, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Google Play Music, Amazon MP3, Tidal, Groove, Deezer, Pandora, Napster, and YouTube. We're on YouTube right now, so if you want to hear any of it, it's all available here. Down tempo. Maybe, yeah, I would say that that's applicable. Down tempo. I don't know the tempo of any of those songs. Also, what is the difference between tempo and BPM? I feel like these aren't synonyms because when somebody asks the BPM of a song, you can say, oh, it's 143, it's 250, it's 95. What is tempo exactly? Does tempo have figures and can you like, is there a numerical value to tempo, and is it or is it not equal to the numerical value of BPM? while whoever is listening to this question cooks up an answer to that, I'm gonna say the rest of the news. I do have some merch coming out. It is taking a long time. I'm sorry, but it's not a priority to me right now. I'm working on a lot of stuff, so the merch has taken a back seat, or maybe even a trunk seat, if that even is a thing. But it is coming this year, I promise. I also have some stickers coming along with that shirt. When that does get released. As far as shows, I still am not allowed to talk about the shows that I have booked at the moment, but I do have some shows so far in 2020 that are coming up. Tempo is a speedometer. BPM is the speed of the music. Tempo takes emotional qualities into account, says Molly Melly. But like, is there a numerical value to tempo? Mary's leaving. Goodbye, Mary. Thank you for being on the stream. I do appreciate you. The rest of the news is just that this is a stream that happens on YouTube and YouTube only. The morning stream happens here every weekday at 9 a.m. Thank you for all of you guys that were able to spend some time with me. I do appreciate you all. For the people that did leave early, I appreciate them as well, and I tried to tell them before they left. I hope that they all heard me. So tempo is the pace, and BPM is the specific value. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. That's good enough for me. That's good enough for me, Cyber. Um. Did Leona leave? I feel like I didn't get to say goodbye to her. Quick question, says Cyber. Go for it, Cyber. Goodbye, Tommy. Thanks for being on the stream. Appreciate you. This song is called Hush Hour. It's a song that I used to end the streams for no other reason than that it is short and it's pretty. Did you happen to read my P.F. Chang ramen review thread on Twitter by any chance? I didn't. I didn't read it. I read the first tweet, but I was... Where was I? I remember being somewhere and seeing the tweet and then putting my phone down and talking to somebody. Oh, I was at Boba with a friend. I saw the first. I didn't read the whole thing though. Word up, Cyber. Will do. Thank you everybody for being respectful to me and polite to each other. I appreciate more than you guys know. It's a good start to my morning. I am starving. So it's nice to... I think that after the stream every morning, I always go into the kitchen to make breakfast with like a good attitude. I don't know if that makes the food taste better, actually, but I feel like it does. I feel like it does. So thank you guys for making my food taste better. I will see you guys here on Wednesday, because today is the Tuesday stream, and I do stream every weekday. So I'll see you guys in the Wednesday stream. If not, please enjoy the rest of your day, and maybe even the rest of your week. I'll see you when I see you. Abo, everybody.